everybody? Welcome back to the Nintendo Prime Podcast. Now, before I get too crazy into this, okay, guys, we do have a special guest. We're going to have a lot of fun today. I actually need to change the topic here quick. That's not the topic at the moment. I want to make sure that you guys can hear me. We had a lot of audio issues last week. I want to make sure you can hear me. There's not an echo. Do I need to turn myself down? Because it looks like I'm peaking a little bit. So I'll turn myself down a smidge. But is everything good? I'm not going to officially start this until I know it's good, because I actually want to be able to upload this to our audio version next week. Everything's good? We good?
Looks like it's good.
All right. Holy crap.
Also,
you know what's funny?
Pointing out that I'm not player essence.
Why
like what it says right below me.
Oh, you know what? Hold on. See, good thing you caught that, so I can go fix it quick. I knew I was going to forget something. Yeah. 1 second, guys.
It's all good. It's all good. We've all been there. Looks like everyone's saying the audio is good. That is good. Mm-hmm.
There we go. Hey.
There we go.
I mean,
for real.
It was almost a perfect start. All right. Well, now that everything's working. Oh, yeah. Our music's banger. I'm actually thinking about getting a new mix made on Fiverr, so we'll see what happens there. Mm-hmm. Even though the current mixes are pretty fresh. All right, let's get the official start here going. So, hey everyone, welcome to the Nintendo Prime Podcast, episode 42 of the rebooted podcast. Anyways, we've had a prior podcast that went like 200 episodes. So yeah, how you guys doing? Obviously, if you're hearing me just fine and you didn't hear episode 41, if you haven't listened to our audio version or you're on our other podcast channel, episode 41 is a bit of a rough one. There's a reason the audio version doesn't exist. We had a bunch of audio issues last week. Conveniently, our co-host, Eric, is not here this week or next week, and now magically everything works. So you guys can do the math on that one, because for some reason things break when he's around. I actually don't know what the reasoning is, but whatever. We're back this week, and we have a special guest with us, my good pal. We go way back, used to work together on a Zelda fan site, even on this YouTube channel right now. We actually work together as well. Back in the day. Mr. CaptBurgenson, a.k.a. I'll probably call him Daniel a billion times. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Daniel works just fine because it is my name. Yes. And one time someone asked, they were like, because I also probably most well known for co-hosting the other podcast, the Highland Gamescast with Game Over Jesse.
Yep.
And someone once asked, they were like, why does everyone keep calling him Daniel? And I really had to explain. I said, well, that is my name. that's just how it is.
Just straight up.
Just so you know.
Yeah, just straight up.
Yeah. My real name's not actually Burger. So.
No, it's Burger. It's Burger. Yeah. That's anyways. No, but yeah. So he's Daniel. Him and I go way back. You guys know me. I am Nathaniel Janc, aka Nate. I am your host as always. He's the special guest. Again, Eric is out of town for the next 2 weeks. So of course, the first episode he's back on in a couple weeks from now. Magically, everything will break again, because that's just how it goes. So we got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. Really two big topics. But before we get into it, we start every single show talking about what the hell have we been playing lately. Because after all, we're gamers and people like to know what the heck you've been doing. So I'm going to first throw it out to our guest, Mr. Daniel. How's it going? What have you been playing lately?
Oh, it's going good. I actually lately I've been playing. Well, I'm terrible for this. I juggle games constantly. But lately I've been playing through Earthbound since it was added to the NSO. And I mean, it's not my first time playing through that game, but I never get tired of it. It is so good. It is it's like an interactive piece of art. It's wonderful. But I've also been playing through some Mario Kart 8 Deluxe because I trying to brush up before the booster pack comes out. And would you believe it, before this week, I didn't actually own the game. I finally bought it. I was the only Switch owner in existence without Mario Kart. And but now I can join the ranks. Other than that, I just finished Dread mode in Metroid Dread.
Ooh, Dread mode.
A doozy. It is no forgiveness, no pulled punches. It's brutal, but great. So fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
I have been playing 2 games. Triangle Strategy. I've been getting some hours in on that. Been having a blast. I'm about 5 or 6 hours in, guys. Not too deep in, but I've enjoyed everything so far, and I'm going to keep pushing. I think I might actually beat this one, guys. We'll see. I don't know if I'll beat it before Kirby lands, but I have a feeling I'm going to be able to plow through Kirby, so should be able to get right back to it pretty quickly before Nintendo Switch Sports and whatever else comes, because, hey, our April game got delayed, so I got a whole month to really figure out what I'm going to be playing. So Triangle Strategy is probably going to fill out the rest of April for me. We'll see. I mean, there's other platforms and other games that could come out. Plus, I need to dive into Elden Ring at some point. I'm putting it off. Yeah. I'm getting it on PC because I want to play it on my 49-inch ultra wide. I think it's going to be amazing. But unfortunately, not only does it have issues on PC, it specifically has extra issues with ultra wides, which is exactly how I want to play the game. So, I mean, I'd play Breath of the Wild in ultra wide if it could. I know technically you can emulate and edit things, but bottom line is I'm trying to avoid that realm since I don't have a hack switch and don't want to dump my own files. So I keep telling people, hey, it technically is illegal to download ROMs even if you own the game. So I practice what I preach. If I could dump my own files, sweet. I would gladly play around with that, especially since it's the Wii U version you really want to use to get the best results on PC. But for those people looking to emulate Breath of the Wild, it's really the Wii U version that works extremely well. Like whenever you guys see those mods, you see the 4K, you see that's the Wii U version running because it just runs better. That being said, that's the other game I've been playing, actually, is my Breath of the Wild.
Love.
Which is interesting because I don't replay games. This is just kind of a moniker of mine. I don't have a lot of time, so if I beat a game, I'm done. Zelda has always been a little bit of an exception, where if there's hero mode, master modes, etc., I'll go back and play some. Probably won't 100% it, but I'll play. But I haven't replayed through a lot of the old Zelda games in a long time, and Breath of the Wild in particular, I'm probably never going to actually replay it all the way to the end. I don't really need to. I already know what happens, and I already know how disappointing the end fight is. Even on Master Mode, I don't really anticipate it being difficult unless I make it difficult and just try to go to it right away and beat it right away in Master Mode. I've seen people attempt it. It's pretty difficult in Master Mode to just go straight there, 3-heart it, and I mean, it's difficult. But it's difficult to really do anything Master Mode 3-heart. I mean, everything one-shots you. You can't make a single mistake. So,
it's like dread mode.
It's basically like dread. You literally cannot make a mistake. So that does add a little challenge and a little fun. But I've been playing it just to kind of. I've just been. This is the weird thing about Breath of the Wild, and I get this way with certain games, even like World of Warcraft on PC, where sometimes I just like to run around in the world, and that's just something. Yeah, and that's what I've been doing in Breath of the Wild. In fact, I forget the name of it, but there was a village that I've known has existed this whole time that I've never visited. The one that's right
Moreland Village.
Yeah, the one that's right on the seaside. I never visited it in my main playthrough. I didn't even know it existed. And then I realized it existed because I saw other people walking around in it, and I saw screenshots, and I'm like, what is this place? It was never told to you, never explained to you. You had no reason to really find it. You're only going to find it by exploring. And here I am thinking, I explored every inch of this map, except this one spot that I just, for some reason, didn't think there was any interesting reason to go over there. And sure enough, it's pretty neat to still, to this day, discover new things in the game. Even though I was aware that it was there, I just never bothered to actually go visit it. So I was like, you know what? Breath of the Wild 2 is coming out. I want to play a little bit of this. I want to kind of work my way through the game just a little bit, and just be reminded of all the things I love and some of the things that I hope they improve, and go from there. Because it is my favorite game of all time. So you might think, as your favorite game of all time, you're not very nitpicky of it. Oh, I'm nitpicky as hell. It's just everything I love about it.
Misconception that if you criticize something, you don't love it, and that's never really the case. or if you love it, you're a hater because you're just pretending you love it. If you say negative things, it's like I've been called the Nintendo hater. Guys, I literally have a Nintendo YouTube channel that this is what I do. If I hated Nintendo, this would be the opposite of what I would be
doing. I don't understand how that happens. But then again, because I don't praise every single thing Nintendo does, it's some people find it refreshing. Other people just, then there's this just happens. The assumed bias that I can't enjoy anything if it's not on Switch, or like I can't be critical of Switch because a game runs better somewhere else. And it's like, what are you talking about? I know you guys can't see it right now. There's an Xbox sitting right here, an Xbox Series S. I just talked about playing Elden Ring on my ultra wide 49-inch monitor that cost, I don't know, how many Switches could I bought from that? Like a lot. It was a $2,500 monitor, guys, for PC gaming. Like, if you don't think I take gaming on other platforms serious, that purchase alone should let you know how serious I take gaming. Granted, it actually works amazing for video editing. And to be clear, I didn't actually buy it originally for gaming. I actually had an older model that broke, and they didn't, because of COVID, didn't make the parts anymore. So I got a voucher to end up getting the newer model, which was a lot more expensive. But so basically, I wouldn't have this one, but I enjoyed gaming on the old one. I haven't really played a lot of games on this one yet, except Age of Empires 4. But I game on everything. So, but that's what I've been playing lately. Again, I'm probably not gonna play much more Breath of the Wild. I know the gist of it. Just wanted to have some fun exploring, messing around with the physics again, and kind of to get my last hurrah enjoying the Sheikah Slate abilities, since I fully believe we won't be able to use them in the next game.
I agree with that.
But there's going to be all new abilities, so there's going to be all new fun things we can do. But we'll worry about that when we get to that section of the show here, because we will be talking about Breath of the Wild 2 today. You guys see it in the title, talking about when that game's coming out, expectations, why we think it might come or not come during certain time frames. But before we do that, let's get into a topic today that matters for this week. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is getting its first DLC drop in like 6 years, 7 years, because they had DLC originally for Mario Kart 8 back on Wii U.
Yeah,
that's when we got Link and the Animal Crossing tracks, and
that's the DLC I bought. That's why I never bought Deluxe for so long, or for like 5 years.
That was $20 back then, I believe. Now Nintendo loves that $25 price range. At whatever. That's Nintendo realizing, hey, we got a popular system. Let's bump her up $5.
$5.
It's okay. As long as so far the ones they've charged $25 for, I would say there's been so much content. I can't complain. Like Animal Crossing, tons of content. Mario Kart 8, hello, they're doubling the tracks.
Yeah.
I mean,
huge
we're not getting new characters. We're not getting new carts, at least from what we're being told. But tracks galore. So many new cups, 6 drops, 2 years. Like crazy.
A lot of people tend to, I find, just stick with one particular character or like loadout that they race with, right? So I think a lack of new characters isn't that big of a concern.
I think just people like to play around with new things.
For sure. Well, some people do, for sure. I think most people stick with that. But the new tracks, I think, is the big thing. And like 48 is a huge amount. Like I can't stress that enough. That is such a huge amount of tracks. To be added as a DLC. Basically
kind of makes this the Smash Ultimate of Mario Kart games. Because there's going to be 96 tracks in this game. And I don't know that you can ever expect any other Mario Kart game to have 96 tracks. We'll see. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe the next one opens up with 100. I have no idea. I don't know what Nintendo's doing for the next Mario Kart. Clearly going to be another one. It's the best-selling IP they have at the moment. So they're clearly going to make another one. Not this generation, but at least not release it this generation. I'm actually fairly confident they're working on a Mario Kart. But this Friday, or I guess Thursday at 8 p.m. for some people, the DLC will actually be dropping the very first wave. And it's interesting because we'll be live streaming it, guys. For those that want to know, we'll be live streaming on Friday. We'll have a tournament for it. I'm not really sure how the tournament's going to work with the new tracks. I'm sure they just randomly show up, or if I can make them show up more often. I don't really know how the settings are going to work yet because they're not here. We haven't had DLC added during this era on Switch. So I'm not really sure if I'll be able to force those tracks to come up more often or not. But they will be in the rotation, and I'll probably max out how many races we have in the tournament just to make sure all of us get an opportunity to choose the new tracks during the tournament. If you want. By the way, it's all voted on, so they could show up and nobody might want to play them. So we just might not get to... I might get to go, 68 races and just never... see one. Happens. That's okay. That's what the single player is for, right? So I can just force myself to go race them. Anyways, they dropped this week, and some new screenshots actually got dropped by Nintendo of America that showed what looked like some visual quality improvements over the last time they showed it. Because that was obviously one of the things I was critical of and others were critical of, is that the tracks being added, we're all happy about the tracks being added. None of us complain about that. But also, like, when we had DLC before, because this is not the first DLC for Mario Kart 8. Some people might think it is because you only played it on Switch, but believe it or not, it's not. $20 pack we just talked about happened on Wii U before this. And when we got that DLC, the tracks were all done in the style of Mario Kart 8. So visually, they really fit in well with the rest of the game. Because a common excuse I saw when people okayed the visuals is like, well, this is just, HD of what it used to look like. I'm like, yeah, but they did more than that last time they added tracks.
Yeah. Even think about the retro tracks in Mario Kart 8. Like, there's tons that are from previous games, but they all fit in a cohesive visual style, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, you have the SNES Rainbow Road. It doesn't look like an HD SNES graphics. It's updated to fit in with the whole presentational style of Mario Kart 8. Yes.
Yes.
Go on.
No, you are so right. Like, I actually think, so they had released those screenshots, and they definitely did do some improvements. I wouldn't necessarily say, based on what I saw from those screenshots, that they're really looking to overhaul everything and make it fit. I think they're just taking some modern techniques, such as reflections. That was like the big thing. Like, hey, now the windows have reflections on them. Whether they're pre-baked in reflections or not, we can't know till we play to see if the reflections actually change depending on where the lighting is. That will let you know if it's pre-baked reflections or not. But they're there now, and that was obviously present in other Mario Kart 8 tracks. I think they're trying to do the minimal amount of work possible to make them fit as close as they can with the style, without needing to work. Because, to me, a lot of the style kind of looks like Mario Kart Tour, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Mario Kart Tour team is actually the one putting these tracks or working on these tracks, not the main team, which is probably working on the next Mario Kart, I would assume, maybe even to launch with their next system. Because clearly Mario Kart is such a huge seller, guys. I think Nintendo would be crazy if they don't launch the next system with it or have it out within that launch window that Reggie used to always tease. Like, I mean, they have proof already with Switch. Like, you can release Mario Kart early. It's okay. It will sell the system. So I do think that they at least put some effort in, and I appreciate that they clearly heard the feedback and said, yeah, we'll do a little more before you release these. And then all that really matters now is obviously, do they play well? I know some other people were hoping they would do more, like add a double dash optional mode. Those are the kind of things you look for the next Mario Kart for, to me anyways. I know they did actually make some changes, like bringing over Mario Kart 8 to Switch and adding the extra item, and then doing the changing up the multiplayer entirely. But that was obviously a bigger move than just saying, hey, we're just going to add some more tracks to kind of flesh out the rest of the Switch's life. Because I don't know about you, I feel like 2023 is going to be a big year for DLC for all of Nintendo's games.
Well, that makes sense. Because 2022 is sort of shaping up to be a big year for game releases. I don't really know all of what they've got lined up for next year, but DLC always, especially with Splatoon coming out this summer, yeah, I can see lots of DLC coming out.
And they've had paid DLC for both of the prior games.
Yeah, like the Octo expansion for Splatoon 2, for example, was a fantastic DLC pack. It was a whole brand new single player campaign that added also a bunch of multiplayer stuff, and it was wonderful. So if they wanted to crack out something as good as that, I'm here for it. But yeah, I mean, kind of on your Mario Kart point as well, lighting is actually, I find, it makes the biggest difference in terms of overall presentation. So even if they're just changing things like the lighting, reflectiveness, things like that, that'll make the biggest difference, even if the models are really simple.
Yeah. Especially for a game that you're in motion too, going really fast.
Oh, totally. Yeah, you're going really fast. It just like, you're not stopping to smell the roses, right? But if you compare, for example, Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD, for example, people always look at Wind Waker and they're like, this is the great port. This is the wonderful remaster and it looks so good. And Twilight Princess HD, they almost did no work to it. It looks like garbage. But actually, if you break them down and compare them, they actually put more work into Twilight Princess HD than Wind Waker, because in Twilight Princess HD, they added a bunch of stuff and they completely redid all the textures in the game. Every texture is redrawn. But the lighting isn't that dramatic of a difference. Wind Waker HD has all the original textures and polygons and everything, but it's just the lighting has changed, and it's such a dark difference. And so, yeah, like that's really the biggest change. So even if they're just doing that,
I will give Wind Waker HD one smidge of credit. They did redo some of the character models. They redid some of the character models. Yeah,
that's true. That's
the general models in the world. They didn't though, like the grass and the ground and the mountains. That was all the same, just in HD.
In HD, yes, exactly.
And they removed the entire Tingle Tuner quest, so technically you get less content.
Oh, that's true, because they removed that and they trimmed down the Triforce fetch quest.
Yep.
So,
which I mean, most people aren't going to complain. That Triforce fetch quest was. I wish we would have got the original vision for what they were going to do for that instead of that fetch quest, but whatever.
Yeah. Time
constraints. That's not what happened. Oh man, I could reminisce on these Zelda games forever. All right, going on.
Go on. There's so much, but I think Aonuma clearly said like they won't he was asked about this when Wind Waker HD came out, if they were adding in cut content or whatnot, and he's like, no, because we already used all that in other Zelda games. And so I thought that was really interesting. But yeah, it's the lighting is the big change, right? So even that looks like it's like, oh, it's not that big of a thing. They just made this shiny, or they just made this lighter. But when you're actually racing on those tracks, that's what's going to make the biggest difference. By and large, 100%. So it'll be good. But yeah, DLC for next year. Sorry, I got off track.
Happens.
I think there's going to be a lot of great DLC. And if the other topic we touch on, depending on how and when Breath of the Wild 2 releases, I would say it's a safe bet to see DLC for that game sometime next year, because of sort of the timing of when they would space it out from the actual original game release. But I mean, we'll probably circle back to that when we get to that topic. But,
well, I mean, if you just look at this year, we got obviously Kirby coming out. Potential they might want to do DLC for that at some point. Xenoblade Chronicles 3, highly likely going to have DLC for that. The new gen Pokemon game, obviously probably going to have DLC for that as well. Splatoon 3, we previously touched on. Pretty much every major exclusive game coming out for Switch this year, highly likely is going to have some form of DLC that lands next year. And maybe that's Nintendo's plan, potentially, to kind of like, it feels like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's DLC here kind of gave us a good window of when Nintendo's kind of, okay, this is when we're probably going to be done with Switch. And maybe this is just a really bad assumption by us, but when the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC goes through 2023, as they said, so the final one will drop at some point towards the holiday season of 2023. At that point, a lot of people felt like, hey, this is kind of marking when Nintendo might release their next platform in 2024. And I feel like that maybe could be because like Nintendo tends to let their systems peter out before they release a new one. And while Switch obviously still has momentum, guys, and is still doing really, really well, I think it will actually sell less this fiscal year than last fiscal year, not by much. But I think Nintendo's going to start to see that smidge of downturn, even though they're going to have such an insane lineup. And I don't think the game sales are going anywhere. I think game sales, as we saw with Legends Arceus, Triangle Strategy, and probably Kirby pre-orders are up there right now. I guess I saw some early sales data. It looks like the least amount that Kirby is going to end up selling overall is like 6.5 million, which is just insane for a Kirby game. That would be instantly the best-selling Kirby game of all time.
That's the Switch effect. Yeah. Everything sells better on Switch than previous consoles.
So the game sales are still going to be phenomenal this year. Still probably going to be phenomenal next year. DLC could really carry it along with at least as long as they have like 3 big games to drop next year in combination with all that DLC. And by the way, a lot of Nintendo's games are evergreen. A game we're going to talk about later, Breath of the Wild 2, if it drops this year, you think it's not going to sell 8 million next year? Probably. So that's going to be a big sales carrier as well. Whatever else, like Metroid Prime 4, heck, Bayonetta 3 drops this year. That's got some potential for DLC. Again, Metroid Prime 4 is, I think, kind of the one that I'm hoping is next year. Can't really carry a year, I don't think, with a Metroid. Although I do think it's going to perform very well. We saw Dread perform really well for a Metroid game. I think 5+ million potential easy for Metroid Prime 4. But it's also going to be like, what else are they going to slot in there? We're going to get a 3D Mario game because we haven't really had a new one of those. We haven't had a new top-down or side-scrolling 2D Mario game, but we haven't had a new one of those either in forever. So some sort of Mario, I think, might land next year. I don't know if it'll be 3D Mario. I got this hunch they're going to save it for the launch and make that be the Breath of the Wild of the new system. Even though, if you look at the history of Nintendo systems that launch with Mario games, it doesn't actually go that well for Nintendo. Think about like the most recent Mario 64. Amazing. Such an amazing game. Sold pretty well. But the system only sold 36 million. So it didn't really push N64 to be a big success. And then, we saw New Super Mario Bros. U launched Wii U. And didn't really...
The Wii U had it.
Yeah, but in the N64 sort of did as well. Everyone was going to third-party companies were leaving en masse. People were going to discs, and Nintendo stuck with cartridges that were more expensive. There was advantages and disadvantages, but bottom line is that kind of, by the way, the SNES also sold less than the NES, so Nintendo needed to find a way to reinvigorate anyways. And what's interesting is they launched the Wii with Twilight Princess, cross-gen game, did phenomenal. Launched Switch, cross-gen game with Breath of the Wild, did phenomenal. So there's kind of always this thought in the back of my mind that Nintendo, don't you dare do it. But if you delay Breath of the Wild 2 to be a cross-gen game for launch, I don't blame you, but please don't do this to me. Please don't make me wait another 2 years because you want it to be cross-gen. Please. And I actually fully expect what Nintendo might do instead, because I don't think they're going to hold it back 2+ years. I do think, which say that there's a history of Nintendo holding back Zelda games, so very well could hold it back 2+ years. But sorry, we have to work on some things that'll come out next year, and then all of a sudden the new platform gets announced. We're like, oh, by the way, maybe we should just hold off and release it on the new platform. Like, okay. But I do think what'll end up happening is they're gonna have because there'll be DLC for Breath of the Wild 2, just like there was for the original. And I think what'll happen is they'll have a deluxe upscaled version that drops day one on the original or on the next platform along with Mario or something like that. So then they're gonna be like, oh, we still got Zelda there. It's just we're trying to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe this thing and try to see if we can get some extra sales with packing in the DLC and upscaling it and stuff. Who knows? Maybe they end up adding another DLC pack at that time. I have no idea what their roadmap is with Zelda. It used to be really predictable with Zelda. It doesn't feel so predictable anymore. What the roadmap is.
Calamity got announced via a tweet, for example. Nothing's predictable. Nintendo's a wild card. Yeah. But I mean, I do have to wonder if this is like what you're saying about the Zelda being this sort of system seller on launch. Like, is this a correlation versus causation thing? Because it's like these are the two systems that have sold super well recently. Yeah. Well, I say recently, and then the last 20 years, we'll say. And those are the systems that launched with great Zelda games, cross-gen as well.
Yeah,
but I wonder. I don't think it was because of those Zelda games in particular. I mean, I would say that those were the best-selling Zelda games because they launched with these really successful systems.
Sure. No, I agree there. Like, so Wii was highly, especially, I mean, guys, this isn't the power of Wii Sports. Let's just be clear. Wii Sports is why you couldn't buy a Wii for 2 years. Okay, Wii Sports, sure. There's no doubt that Wii was a really great concept at a great price point at the time, and that Switch, obviously, really great console, obviously at the correct price point at the correct time. For Nintendo. So this isn't taken away from the systems. It's just sort of a convenient factor of, hey, some reason when it's Zelda at launch, that's when we know we hit a home run somehow. I will give Breath of the Wild a little bit more credit for launch compared to Twilight Princess, because Twilight Princess obviously it sold 8 million, second best selling game to date. I think probably going to get crushed by Breath of the Wild 2. But I mean, it might literally at day one, pre-orders already crush it. I have no idea, because the pre-orders for Breath of the Wild 2 are going to be insane. I just know it.
No doubt.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's already 10 million day one, if they even can make enough physical units for the demand. And who knows what special editions or please give us a Zelda console. That feels so weird we haven't had one yet. But then again, they haven't been releasing Zelda games, so I guess I can't really
True.
Could have gave us the Age of Calamity one.
Joy-Cons, but that doesn't really count. Right?
No, I mean I like the Joy-Cons, but
they're lovely. They're beautiful. Don't get me wrong. But.
Yeah. So I don't know. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC sort of set out this roadmap, and I am really excited for that DLC drop this week. I mean, I don't know about you. I've been playing Mario Kart. I feel like it feels like my entire life.
Yeah. Well, yes and no. I mean, I fell off. Like I really liked Mario Kart 64 and then Double Dash, but I hated Mario Kart Wii, and I'm probably the only person who hated Mario Kart Wii because I always say I didn't like Mario Kart Wii, and everyone's like, "What? That was my favorite," but I really didn't like it.
Oh, you didn't like the wheels? You didn't want to be a wheel driver?
It was. I felt too sensitive. So I couldn't turn gradually. I was always like a super sharp turn. You know?
You mean you were trying to drive it like a car, which is not how that game works.
Apparently not. But then I got Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U, and I played it a bit, mostly with my son, who at the time he was like 3, right? So great game to play with a 3-year-old. But aside from that, until just recently, like this week, I have just not really played Mario Kart that much since like Double Dash. So for me, it's definitely a big blind spot.
So will this DLC make you play more?
I think so. Just because the reason, like with Mario Kart on Wii U, with Mario Kart 8, I stopped playing because I played through the game. I got like every cup. I was happy, and I was like, that's it. I'm done. So it just felt like I ran out of stuff to do, even though I know there's more to do than that.
Multiplayer rankings.
Yeah, there's so much more to do, but I just felt like I was like, there's nothing else for me to do. So, but now, I just definitely feel like I'm also more active with other people online to game now than I was back then.
Yeah, I see you streaming a lot more.
Definitely streaming a lot more. So, I feel like I'll probably play it more than I did on the Wii U. Definitely. There's more to do, and that's always good.
Plus, I mean, a lot of our classic favorite tracks are probably going to come back at some point during this.
Oh, yeah.
There's 48 guys. They're coming from everywhere. Every game that's ever been released that's a Mario Kart game, including Tour. So, yeah, we're going to be getting some of our favorites back, and it's going to be a lot of fun when those drop. Right now, I can safely say none of the ones in the first wave are my favorites, but they are some people's favorites, and that's really, really cool, and I'm going to enjoy playing them. Still going to be fun. And, hey, look, I get to play, like, another cup. Like, that's cool. I'll have some fun with that. Yeah. Another couple cups or whatever I think that drops. That'll be good. So yeah, I think we'll kind of leave it at that. Everyone who's listening in, let me know whether it's on our YouTube channel or wherever. Maybe you want to drop a review of this podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever, and you can maybe mention in there, hey, how are you feeling about this Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC? I'd say leave a comment, but for some reason these podcast places don't let you leave comments. I don't know what's up with that. They should get on top of that. Trying to build a community here on our audio version. Come on. All right, so we'll get to the probably the bigger topic here, the one that obviously we are more interested in because it's Zelda, baby. Breath of the Wild 2. Don't know if anyone's heard of that game. It's just a sequel,
a
little sequel to something that like had a record-breaking amount of Game of the Year awards. It's like up there, tied or close to tied to one of the highest rated games of all time. Elden Ring came out, right? Really good. 97 overall rating. Yeah, it's just tied with Breath of the Wild. Not a big deal. Which, by the way, that's kudos to From Software, by the way. Apparently they made a masterpiece that I have not partaken in yet, but honestly, because of how high rated it is exactly why I'm going to be playing it, because I'm like, I got to see this for myself. It's going to be awesome. I already know I'm going to enjoy it. So yeah, Breath of the Wild 2. It's supposed to come out this year. Mm-hmm. Last we heard is 2022. They dropped the trailer last E3. I presume there'll be another trailer at this E3. Whether it comes out this year or not, I don't think they're just going to ignore that because they'll at least announce it's being delayed if nothing else, which is not what I don't want to see this really badass trailer that gets me so hyped and then see 2023. And then what pops up? Yeah, we're going to need a bit more time and blah, blah. It's like, no. Tell me the date before I watch the trailer. Like,
Yeah.
Get me in the right state of frame of mind before I watch this trailer that makes me in the moment think I'm about to play this thing in like 5 months. This is awesome.
I think with their sort of current advertising strategy, if it's delayed, they wwon't show a trailer. They'll just tell us it's delayed.
I also think what's interesting, so like talking about obviously when this game's going to come out, the people's guesses are all over the place. And a lot of people thought with the announcement of Pokemon Gen 9 that would be like, oh yeah, they're not going to release those in the same month. And I can agree. They won't release them in the same month. But I'll tell you this. When they announced the release date for Breath of the Wild 2 last year, they already knew at the time that they were probably targeting holiday season of the next year. They knew this. It wasn't like, oh, we're targeting spring and we're just going to keep pushing it back. No, they knew. They knew they wanted it to be their holiday title. They knew what their slate of games was going to be this year. They also knew the Pokemon Company was planning to release Gen 9. Like, they knew about this already. Like, it's not like the Pokemon Company and Nintendo don't talk. They're very calculated in how they line up their games. And I think a key thing here was when Gen 9 Pokemon was announced as coming late 2022. To me, that means if you look at prior announcements that release in November, they always said holiday, holiday, holiday. This time they didn't. They said late. To me, that means they're going to Smash Bro this bad boy and drop it in December, which did not hurt Smash Bros. Sales at all.
It did not.
Legends Arceus sales dropped in January, did not hurt it at all. Very clearly, they don't need the holiday period. They just need to drop it before the end of the year like they promised. December, you have Zelda be November. I don't think it's really that crazy of a thought process. But we'll see. That is when I think Breath of the Wild 2 is going to end up coming out. I've been kind of thinking this for a while since the announcement. I mean, I was thinking it for a bit, because we didn't know Pokemon Gen 9 was coming this year. Then when they announced it, I'm like, actually, I kind of solidified this. The way they said Gen 9 late, that's like December, November. They got Xenoblade in September. They really just need, anything to drop in October, and they're kind of good. Like Nintendo's not adverse to putting a banger game after a banger game. We see them do it throughout. I mean, just go back to 2017 launch year. Like every month, it felt like we had a major game drop. So yeah. I mean, I don't know exactly, obviously, what's happening and when things are going to release and when Splatoon 2, well, when is that dropping, or Splatoon 3 dropping this summer? I have no idea. They just said summer. So it gives you June, July, August. You figure one of the games we know is like in July, or June, so like it won't be, I don't know. We have no idea. They've also released more than one like semi-major game in a month. Technically, Triangle Strategy and Kirby. Now, you can argue neither one of those are like massive. But I don't know. I feel like you could have put Kirby at the beginning of a month and Nintendo Switch Sports at the end, and it would have been just fine.
Yeah.
So you could, in theory, do like Zelda beginning of the month, Pokemon late in the month, and they could end up being the same. And I know they're both open world. Yeah, and they both serve completely different audiences. Now, I know there's crossover with everything, but I don't really think they'd cannibalize each other, just to be honest. Maybe I'm wrong. So, CaptBurgenson, what are your thoughts? When the hell is Breath of the Wild 2 dropping? You're like, I have to cover the whole gambit now, and you're still super in tune with Zelda. Like, just like be like, you got the poster behind. Yeah, sure. You got like the Lego question block. That's fine. Yeah. Breath of the Wild's always front and center on your camera. So tell me, boy, when do you think it's coming?
I think two options actually that I've had in mind. One is the one I've been kind of more sticking to, and this is the one that my gut tells me, which is also early to mid-November. That's what I think. And it just feels right in my gut. Like, it just feels like, I don't know, but they don't have anything that they've announced for November, to my recollection. Already.
Which typically they won't announce dates till the E3 in June. That's when they line up their second half.
But it would be a fantastic opportunity for them to just go all out at E3 and be like massively push this game like they did at E3 2016. I
also think it'd be smart because PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X are going to be really trying to get attention. Xbox specifically at E3, PlayStation overall, and like Nintendo being like, yeah, that's great. You guys have new systems. You're pushing your new games. They look amazing. Horizon, all the stuff you guys, it's amazing. Starfield, amazing. But by the way, just to remind you, this is what we got. Power ain't everything. Look at our games. So
Yeah, and I mean the game looks fantastic. I think the visuals are quite gorgeous, obviously, but
Yeah, they look better than the original. But we'll see.
They do.
We'll see. They're trailers, so we can't really infer much from trailers yet because companies, including Nintendo, like companies, including Nintendo, sometimes beef up the trailers a bit more. Like I can tell you guys right now, that trailer we got last year was probably not running on a Switch. So that's just how they do it. They run it on hardware where there's not going to be any issues, no frame skips, no nothing. So there's that. But keep going. You had your theory. So that was theory one.
Theory one, November just feels right. Great holiday release. Lots of Zelda games have released in November historically. If anything, Breath of the Wild is the outlier for releasing in March. So I feel like November feels like a good safe bet. It just feels right in my gut. But otherwise, I would say spring, which no one wants to hear. Spring 2023.
Not the worst. Not the worst case.
Not the worst. Not the worst. But I feel like if something happens, say if they want to push it to, I don't necessarily.
It'll be before March. I think it'll be before March.
Yeah. But for whatever marketing reasons, say they want to space something out, they want to, not have the releases packed too close together, and they want to play it safe or something. I can see early next year, maybe sometime late quarter one or something. I can see it happening, but that's just like reasonable trying to have like a backup.
Yeah, it's like okay. They said 2023. Okay, don't panic. Yeah. It'll be here by March.
Right.
It'll be here by March. We'll be okay with that 6th anniversary of the release of Breath of the Wild. Okay, we're good. It'll be fine. I can wait a few extra months. I don't want to, but that's what we tell ourselves. If they don't actually say March of 2023, then we start going. But also, the logical brain in me is telling me, okay, so this is a whole year delay. So this is going till holiday of 2023. And then at that point, we know Nintendo's probably got a new system. They might be releasing in 2024. And Nintendo's going to be awfully tempted to say, screw it. Let's launch the next system with this. And then we start to not really panic. I don't think it clearly it worked out in the past, but also it's just, I don't know. As a Zelda fan, I'm kind of, after Twilight Princess, they made us wait extra for that. They made us wait extra for Breath of the Wild. When it was done, obviously needed more optimization for Switch, but it was done for Wii U. Having to wait for even an extra year on Skyward Sword, which I didn't want to wait, and I obviously think that really probably hurt sales a little bit. Would have been better off if it would have dropped in 2010. Right when it was still not peaking, but it was coming down, but it still had enough sales where if that was a major drop before we knew about Wii U, because the problem with that delay is it made it come out after Wii U was announced.
Right.
So I think that obviously hurt sales, but like every Zelda game gets delayed. So I keep expecting, because the first date that gets announced is always a delay. Just what happens. It's what you expect. I just for once want Nintendo not to do that.
Right. And this is something I'm thinking is that maybe the reason they waited so long to even give us a release date is part of me thinks that they had an internal target release date, and obviously externally or to the public, they never gave us release dates. So you can't delay a game if you never tell people when it's coming out. Technically.
Yep. So it hasn't been delayed yet.
Exactly. Hasn't.
Publicly.
Maybe it has internally, right? That's probably the working theory, is that they had a target release date that was maybe last year or something. Who knows when it was supposed to be?
Well, it's one of those. They showed it in 2019, and I'm of mind that they probably wanted it to come out the next year, and then COVID hit, and that just blew up Nintendo. It blew up every company, and they're just oh no, we can't put our finishing touches on this. We're all at home. What are we going to do? Oh, we'll just wait this out maybe a little bit, or we'll just work on the fringes and, polish this or polish that. And then, now we got this new idea because we've been sitting at home and re-inspired for something else. And I kind of think, that was probably the plan. Because if you look at, they don't have a lot of direct sequels in Zelda history.
Right.
But most of them came together pretty quickly. They used the same engines, Spirit Tracks and Majora's Mask. It didn't take them long to get these games out, especially after the release of the prior game. Majora's Mask was the longest one, I think, technically 3 years away, but we know that it got approved, later. I don't know. They put it together in a year technically, but they didn't start work on it right away. So it's interesting thinking about this game. Technically, as of today, has had a longer development cycle than Breath of the Wild. Now, again, caveat is we've had 2 straight years of a pandemic. And yeah, you can argue we're maybe, coming out of it at this point. Obviously, a lot of the science is really positive on all of the Omicron variants and all that. We're not going to go too deep into that stuff. I know it's a really touchy subject for some, especially because a lot of people lost family members during all of this. So treating it lightly ever is always going to bother some people. But reality is science is saying that we are getting to a point where we can start to not worry about it as much. A lot of the world's trying to get back to normal, but not all of it. Example, China still has basically a no BS policy. So right now there's a breakout happening again in China of the Omicron variant. And China has basically said, yeah, we're shutting things down again. So one of the major Foxconn factories, as of this week, is not operational. They have shut it down. We'll see how long it lasts for. Hopefully not as long as it did last time when the original one hit. But this is one of those things where, yeah, large parts of the world are still dealing with this in their own way. And that includes Nintendo, and that includes Japan, who's been very strict on their travel restrictions and everything else throughout all of this. So, yeah, I take that into consideration that, okay, it took longer to develop than Breath of the Wild. Also, Breath of the Wild didn't have to deal with this climate.
That's true.
And the thing is, it's crazy because Breath of the Wild, they built a whole new engine. Ground up.
Right.
New engine. Oh, and then they delayed it to put it on a new platform. So, some of this extra development time wasn't technically even needed. And then here we are with Breath of the Wild 2. And what's interesting is Breath of the Wild 2's expectations are through the roof.
Ooh.
I'm very... I'm actually no matter when it comes out, the more and more the game, let's say it gets pushed to 2023, I think that just makes expectations higher. Oh, now it's going to be a cross-platform game. Expectations just went through the roof if they're not already there. I mean, expectations were always going to be big, but the longer we have to wait, the more years they get to put into it. We've only seen 2 trailers. Each trailer looked better than the last. One, we didn't know about it, took everyone by storm, shocked us. Second one, hey, wow, you somehow shocked us again, even though we knew about this game. We actually knew about it. We've seen it, and then you somehow blew our minds again. But can it stand up? Because so many games over these last 5 years have come out that have taken inspiration from what Breath of the Wild set up. And Elden Ring obviously just dropped, which kind of took that inspiration to a different level. Not exactly the same type of game, of course, guys, but some of the devs have spoke out that they were inspired by Breath of the Wild. So it's kind of one of those, the bar has sort of been raised that they set. The rest of the industry's been slowly raising it up. And I guess there's a smidge concern for me that some of the reactions to Breath of the Wild 2 when people finally get it might kind of be, that's it.
I mean, there are people who had similar sort of visceral reaction to Breath of the Wild 1.
Especially when there was no dungeons.
Right? Yeah, that was the big
no dungeon thing and the weapon breaking. Those were the 2 things that really bugged some people.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I obviously adore the game. It's my favorite game ever. I put more than 1,400 hours into it. I didn't bring it up during the "What Are We Playing" segment, but I never stopped playing Breath of the Wild.
I was gonna be I'm pretty sure you never stopped.
I never stopped. Yeah, I have not. It's one of the most consistently played games I've ever consistently played, pretty much weekly at least, right? So it's I mean, it's a game I'm able to pour lots of hours into. I always say it's the game that's the most embodies the concept of it's about the journey more than the destination. If there was ever a game to embody that phrase, it's Breath of the Wild. But it's absolutely lots of people just really had that sort of reaction. They had all these super high expectations. They amped it up in their head. They were really pumped for it, and then it drops, and it just didn't meet those expectations because they sort of mentally amped themselves up too much. They didn't hype responsibly, Nate, which is what you always tell people to do.
Yes,
so,
hype responsibly.
Exactly. So it feels to me like there is the concern about that for the sequel. Like people are going to be like, wow, this is going to be the incredible thing. They're going to fix all these things. They're going to let me swim and explore these dungeons now, and everything's going to be great. And if it doesn't like check off every box on that list, they're going to proclaim it to be garbage, dumpster fire game, and all that, and swear it off, right? Because people want to be hot or cold only. They don't want to like be in between for some reason. So yeah, there's a concern about that. Yeah, yeah. I would just urge people to go in with an open mind always, right? With any new game, really. Just go in with an open mind and don't go in expecting something that you told yourself was going to happen, but was never told to you was going to happen. Because I think people sometimes have that.
Yeah, like I think if people are going to hype responsibly about this game, no matter when it comes out, just when they finally play it, it's consider a few things. Consider, okay, I expect 60 FPS. Did you play the original Breath of the Wild? You're not getting 60 FPS.
You're not getting 60 FPS.
Let's be
not
real.
On Switch, at least.
Yeah, not on Switch. Maybe the next platform, but not on Switch. So like, let's Switch as it is today. So be realistic about that. Don't be upset about something that you should have never expected in the first place. And then like things like, okay, if you want to set some expectations for things they never told us, the only thing I think you can really give any credence to were the patents for the abilities. Sure. If you want to argue some things are missing from those abilities you thought were really cool that weren't in the game, I think, okay, fine. You can be critical about that because that's something we publicly know Nintendo at least had an idea for and probably experimented with. Some of those mechanics look like they're already in the game, so we think it's pretty safe to buy into that stuff as being, hey, look, like to me, one of the coolest things was all the arrow mechanics falling through the sky. Like, if we're gonna get some nice falling in the sky aerial combat, I'm all about that. Like that is like the way that was described to me was like, okay, that is something I don't get in any other game. This to me could be epic. If I'm fighting some dragon up in the sky, like, it was cool in like Twilight Princess when you're fighting that boss in the dungeon and you're like zipping around with your hook shot, but it ain't the same as actually, we can fly a little bit in this game. We can glide at least, use abilities to maybe stay up, hit a wing gust, get up even higher, drop, do different little, this. Okay. That and I'm going to be so disappointed if none of that made it into the game. I'm going to be like,
it really makes me hope they're going to build some really awesome puzzles around these mechanics, though.
Oh,
like the combat, but just I feel like one aspect the first game was lacking was like some puzzles that really tested me. Like Twilight Princess, you have you go into Snow Peak Ruins, this great dungeon, wonderful dungeon, and there's this puzzle where you got to push these blocks around. And it really tests me. It's like I got to think about you have a certain amount of spatial awareness. I got to think about how one action will impact the next, and
block puzzles.
Push these blocks.
Classic.
I love block puzzles. Classic. I do love them. But
going back to Zelda one days, classic.
Oh yeah. A lot of those puzzles tested me, but in Breath of the Wild, I felt like very few of them. It was like, okay, there's a Korok here, and I'm going to take this block, and I'm going to put it over here, or I'm going to pick up this rock and put it over here. Boom! There we go. That's the puzzle. And
yeah, a lot of the Korok seed stuff. That a lot of that was to me just all right. Notice something odd in the landscape and fix it.
Yeah.
Every now and then there was a cool one where you push a boulder down a way like that. Okay, there were some of them were unique.
Fun with the physics,
I'll say some of my favorite puzzles in Breath of the Wild had to do with the shrines, and not so much the inside shrines, because I didn't really feel like those puzzles were that challenging. Maybe the most challenging was when you had to use the motion controls and line things up, and not a lot of that was just frustration, usually more than anything. I didn't really think it was that bad. There was one shrine where it was okay, it was a little hard to get it just perfectly right with the controls. Could have used some tweaking. Maybe the gyroscope of my thing was off. I have no idea. But God, where was it? The one where you're down in the mushrooms and the whole shrine takes place outside and you're collecting the orbs. That one to me, it wasn't the most challenging thing, but it was so intuitive in how they put that shrine together. Obviously, and I love the fact that it was also just seamless with the world. You just walk in and you're doing it. There's no load screen like all the other shrines. Stuff like that, I really want to see expanded in the next game, where not only is it try to make it more seamless, but put a lot of these puzzles in the world. Like I didn't even realize I was doing a puzzle. And all of a sudden I'm like, wait a second. Okay, they made it super obvious this one thing goes here. Now where are all the rest? I gotta find them. Oh, this one's way up there, but it's raining. I can't climb up there. How the hell am I getting it down? Like, so like I had to start. It wasn't like the solutions weren't obvious. You had to use your critical thinking, and that's one thing that I loved about Breath of the Wild is that, I mean, so like an obvious solution to one thing might be a completely different obvious solution to another, and both can work.
Yeah.
And I actually really like that.
I think that's strength. And I didn't like, I mean, you and I both, we have kids. So I'm sure this will speak to you a bit. But like talking about kids and how they learn things through games, I think that's one of Breath of the Wild's strengths is that it's the way there's never just one strict answer to anything in that game. There's no one solution to anything. You really have to be creative and think
besides Korok seeds.
Except for Korok, yeah. Usually
Korok seeds are you have to do this exact thing to get the Korok seed.
Yeah. That's the exception, not the rule. but for almost every other scenario. And so, for example, like my son, he was able to beat Breath of the Wild, but he hasn't beaten any other, or it's taken him a long time to beat any other Zelda game. Like he's not able to get through it because they have these sort of rigid right or wrong answer puzzles just to make progression, right? Whereas, kids are really creative. They can think around problems. Sometimes in ways that we adults don't, because we are so used to there being a right or wrong way. And so that's something I hope the sequel holds on to, is that innovative, that spirit of creativity that lets you, for lack of better words, cheese things if you want to or need to, approach things with the challenging mindset if that's how you want to play it. That's I think the best thing about that game. And I think there's other games like Mario Odyssey is another one that falls under that sort of line of thinking as well, which is also a super good game. So, I mean, yeah, I guess that's something I really hope for the sequel. So when we see like these mid-air archery mechanics or this time rewinding mechanic where you can make an object rewind through time, it makes me excited for like, oh, what kind of puzzles can they build around this? But also like, how are they going to let us be creative with this in ways that are going to let us break the game and or have shenanigans with it? That's what's most exciting for me.
We see that one ability in the trailer where like Link's shooting fire, out of his arm cannon or whatever that thing is. Right. We only see it in the one scene. I kept thinking, okay, cool. So we got like a flamethrower. That's great. So like, how can I break the game with this damn flamethrower? Like, okay, I can light grass on fire. Okay, so I'm not firing fire arrows at the ground or hitting it with a torch. Okay, fine. I understand I can create the gusts of wind, but like besides that, like what else can I do with this thing that's going to just blow my mind? And like you're right about children. Like my Aiden, my middle child, he's played a bunch of the Zelda games, tried a bunch of them. The only one he consistently goes back to is Breath of the Wild, because the way his mind works, he'll see like there's a chest. He wants to get to the chest, and he knows, okay, this will work to get to the chest. Whatever he's thinking of in that moment will work. Just how many times does he have to do it? How perfect does he have to be? And I could easily like turn around and be like, you could just like do this one thing and you're at the chest. Like, it's not as difficult as you're making it. But like, there's that reward of he knows it will work. He just has to do it. And then when he finally, 20 minutes later gets to the chest, he's like, yes, even if it's just like a rupee, like there's nothing in it that mattered. Zero consequence to you. It's just like, but he felt good because he solved a puzzle in the way that he wanted to solve it. Because every now and then, he'll come to me and be like, Dad, like, is there an easier way to get to this thing? I'm like, there's an easier way to get to everything in Breath of the Wild. I might not even know the easiest way, because the way I do it probably isn't the easiest way. I just do what worked.
Oh, totally.
I thought like you did. There's only a few select times that, I get really, really frustrated. And then like I'm live streaming someone in the chat says, hey, why don't you like, oh, you don't have any stamina stuff. Why don't you put on your climbing gear and you'll get like, an extra few feet on your climb and you'll be fine, after I fell like 10 times. Oh yeah, God, I'm dumb. Like I wasn't even thinking about that. I was thinking, I really don't want to cook. I really don't want to cook. I really don't want to have to go and cook right now. I want to just get there. I just want to get there. And they're like, oh, dude, you have climbing gear, right? I'm like, oh, yeah. I just totally forgot that any of this equipment does anything. I just don't even think to use it. The only stuff I think is, the ancient armor, and the ancient armor costs so much to use. I don't really use it that much. So like, it's things that I don't think about.
That's totally the way like every other Zelda game has been. Is like this is the equipment you have to use it, and that's that's not what you thought of in Breath of the Wild. Kind of shows just how lenient it is with its world design in that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like going to you go to Death Mountain, like, oh yeah, you should have like certain gear or certain hearts or like certain things cooked, and it's like, no, you could just keep dying and make little progress after little progress until you get to the town. Like, you can do it, because that's how I did it.
Run in.
That's how I did it.
Recover half a heart every 12 seconds, and
or be me. Running. Forget that you can eat food and just run until you die.
Oh, no.
And then when you come back to life, you actually made it a little bit further ahead. So you just keep doing it over and over and over. And you might die 50 times, but you will get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, man. Good times.
Yeah, it's a great game.
So yeah, I really want Breath of the Wild to come this year. I think everybody would love for it to come this year. The only people I think that maybe, if there is a crowd that would say they don't want it to come, it's either because when it comes out, they want it to come out on a more powerful system so they can get like 60 FPS. And I could totally understand that. If you want it to look beautiful in 4K on your TV, upscaled, and you want 60 FPS, absolutely, I get waiting. I also think you're going to get that option when that system's available. I don't really think that this is a game, or even the original Breath of the Wild, that they're not going to eventually, if not at launch, give you an option to play it that way. But I think the other thought process is anyone that's looking super, super forward to Gen 9 Pokemon might go, hey, I want some time with this before I dive into that. And I think that's also fair too. There is, like me, I happen to enjoy like most of Nintendo's games they release. So for me, there's always a lot of like, it's a banger year, but then I'll hear people, oh, I'm not interested in this game, or I'm not interested in that game. And that's fine. Like, so there was somebody who told me, oh yeah, for all these great games coming out, the only games I like are top-down Zelda and top-down Mario, and I don't have those, so Switch sucks. I'm like, all right, that's fair. But I'd also say, like, I wouldn't buy an entire platform just to play a couple games. Like, that to me isn't a smart use of money if I only care about like 2 games. At least not now. If you want to wait like a decade and buy like some used Switch for like $100, and sure, but I don't know. Like, I look at it as I am someone who's going to play all these games, and I'm just trying to already think of when I'm going to have time. Like, I'm already like, Triangle Strategy I won't have done before Kirby, but I know I'm going to plow through Kirby in like a weekend. So I'm going to push Triangle Strategy to April, and then something's going to drop in April from an indie studio. Then I'm going to be like, oh crap, I'm not done with this one yet. What do? I want to play them both. Because like, as parents, jobs, work, school, you go through all that, time for gaming sometimes isn't always there. And honestly, this is just complete honest with everyone that listens, because I'm a YouTuber, you could argue that's my free time. So like, yeah, I'm doing this podcast, could be playing a game, but I'm not. I'm doing the podcast. That couple hours I did to make a video today, could have used that to play a game, but I didn't. When I stream for you guys at night and I'm not playing a game, could be playing games, but I'm not. And now, by the way, this isn't me complaining. I choose to do this because I have other interests. Gaming is amazing, but like, I really love interacting with my audience and taking questions and talking to them. And I do more of that when I'm not playing a game on live stream than when I am. When I'm playing the game, my mind tends to focus like 75% on the game, 25% on chat, which is fine. But also, I'm not getting the same community interaction. So that's why I choose to do things the way that I do, guys, because I actually legitimately enjoy being a YouTuber. But I love playing games as well. So like, finding that balance with everything is tough. And so for me, yeah, I can see an argument where some people might not want it to come this year, so they have more time to partake in other things. Or you'd just be like me, and I think I've taken on this mentality since the Zelda Informer days. Game comes out, just plow through it as fast as possible so you ain't got to worry about it. And I already know what's going to happen with Breath of the Wild 2. Probably within the first week, I will have already put 100 plus hours in or more and have just shredded that game. And then I'll be like regretting that I'm not really going back to it for a while. But then I'll be like, oh yeah, but wait for the DLC. Then I'll go back and I'll shred that. Like, and that's what, and like, but you're not doing that with Triangle Strategy. I know, but I also don't plan to talk that much about Triangle Strategy. That's a game I'm just playing for myself. And games I play for myself, I take a lot longer to enjoy than ones where it's like, yeah, I really, really love this game, but also there's more games coming. So I need to, if I don't, like in Breath of the Wild 2, if I don't plow through it in the first week, there's a chance I might never beat it. And that's not a chance I want to take. Because I want to see the end and I don't want to have to watch YouTube videos to see the end. You know?
No,
I want to experience it. Or like, and I understand like some people want to experience the end with their favorite creator too, because I'll probably live stream my entire playthrough. And that's fine too. If that's what you want to do, you want to experience it as a community. That's cool too. And I get that. Like that's, you know, when people are like, oh, why would you want to watch someone play games? I used to be that person. Why do my kids want to watch someone play games? Like, this is stupid. And now people watch me do it. And it made me think.
It's fun. It's fun.
It made me think, well, I understand why it's fun for the content creator, but I didn't understand why it's fun for the viewers. And it's starting to click with me that, wait a second, what were some of my favorite gaming memories growing up? It wasn't necessarily the games I beat. It was the times I had with other people. Midnight launches. Blast. This is basically like a midnight launch where, yeah, I'm the only one playing on stream. Maybe some of them are playing at home while they're watching my stream, but we're experiencing everything at the same time. And it gives that a massive community effect that I think, you know, this is one reason why some people still prefer the way that like cable TV does shows, where the show is going to come on this day at this time. And that's when everyone can watch that episode because everybody who's a fan of that show is seeing it at the same time. Versus like, oh, this just dropped on Netflix, and it's like, okay, whenever you get around to it, you're going to binge watch. Which, by the way, I love binge watching. Absolutely love it. But also, yeah, like as an example, I love Raising Dion. Absolutely love that show on Netflix. Haven't talked to a single Raising Dion fan besides my fiance at all. I wouldn't even know if there's a community behind that comic book series and behind that show because never met any of it, never talked to any. But I can tell you what, every episode of the Game of Thrones that dropped, oh, I was well aware of all the community interaction with that. It was all over Twitter. It was all over everything because it was happening at the same time.
Yeah, that was inescapable. I never watched Game of Thrones, but I sure heard a lot about it.
You'd probably enjoy it. You'd probably really enjoy it, at least for at least the first handful of seasons. Yeah, I'm
a binger though. So that's the thing is I'll always wait for like either at least a season of a show to be done and out before I watch it. And then I can binge the season. And so with Game of Thrones, I was like, well, I'll just wait till the whole show is done and then I'll go through it. And then I heard all the talk about how it, you know, the last season and how the ending was, and I was just like, well, maybe I just won't. Maybe I don't have
to. I think it might be one of those things where like you binge watch it up to like right before the final season, and then by the time wait for the final book to drop. Which God knows if it ever will, but then just binge watch until the final season, then just read the book instead. Because like here's the thing, the actual ending, the actual events that happen in that show at the end are what is supposed to happen at the end of the book. The general gist of it. The problem with that entire last season was that they rushed through the events, which they had not done yet in the entire show up to that point. And all of a sudden they rush through it. And I know why. Because they don't have a book to work off of anymore. They don't, they're making this up as they go. They know the major events. So what happens between the major events? Well, we don't have the book to go off of. And George R.R. Martin just gave us the Cliff Notes. He's not actually here on set telling us because, frankly, he hasn't finished the book. And he might never finish the book. It might be the one thing he never finishes. We might never get it. So we might be stuck with that season being just how everything ends. But yeah, I honestly was not as critical of it as most people. It's really just the last episode that's kind of like, man, look at all these major things happening. This would be like an entire season worth of stuff in one episode.
Right. Oof.
Yeah, it's just that last episode that really, everything up to that point I thought was great. That last episode was kind of like, man, there's so much here that needed fleshed out for better context. These characters are so much more in depth than what they're showing here. But again, they don't have anything but Cliff Notes. So it's kind of like they went from Cliff Note to Cliff Note to Cliff Note and didn't give us the in between, which, again, to be fair, this is probably George R.R. Martin's fault because he told them when they started season 1, he would have the last book out before the time they needed it. And then it never happened. So like that was a promise he actually told HBO is that his book would be out before they need it. And so, and that I don't blame. Yeah, I'm not really mad at HBO about it. It's more like a little sour note towards George R. R. Martin because he let it happen. I don't know if it's just because he got all the money. I don't know what. I don't really know. Maybe I've had a theory for a while that because I don't know George R. R. Martin, I don't know anything about him, but I know that he's really old, and I'm wondering if there's any sort of deterioration going on because it happens to everyone as you age. He thought he'd be done. Mind doesn't work as well as it once did, as quick as it once did. So that's why he's not done. But hey, we're getting a prequel show, and hopefully that's good. I have no idea. It's supposed to be based on spin-off books and stuff, but as we got way off topic, that's okay though. People didn't really dip out because people like Game of Thrones still. It just is what it is, and it's medieval and fantasy, and that's what Zelda is.
That's true.
So yeah, I'm just. Can we get to E3 already?
Can we?
Can we just?
Yes, please.
One, I want to know if it's still coming this year. Two, I just want to see more. Okay, if it's delayed, just give me more. I want more to talk about for like 2 months after E3, where it's like every podcast is something gets brought up from the new Breath of the Wild trailer because we can't help it. It's just too good.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying. I'm telling you, Daniel, I'm trying. I got that catchphrase. You brought it up hyper responsibly. I am trying so hard to set my expectations properly for this game. But I wouldn't be lying if, like, when they dropped that trailer, if I did not, I would literally hyper responsibly went out the window. And I feel bad because I keep advertising to everyone to hyper. Like, oh yeah, I'm far removed from it now. So yeah, I'm hyping responsibly now until that next trailer drops. I'm hyping responsibly until the game releases. And it's like, I know it. I know that this is the one franchise I don't hype responsibly for. And I'm almost scared myself that I'm going to set the bar impossibly high, even though I know I shouldn't. See, that was the thing with Breath of the Wild. I didn't know really what to expect. I played it at E3 2016, played it a bunch, thought it was really good. Right. Hey, Link.
More than most people.
Can you not chew my Octorok, please?
Uh-oh. You got a visitor?
Yeah, my dog's in here. Don't just stare at me. You don't chew my Octorok. I'm supposed to be giving that away. You're an E3. What are you doing?
He's so hungry he could eat an Octorok.
Oh, you little big log, you. You just want to be on camera, don't you? All right, Link. Well, lay down, buddy, before you break my equipment. It's my fault. I should have locked the door. But he got lonely. That's okay, though. I think we're getting actually pretty close to wrapping this up. Do you have anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it up?
Breath of the Wild 2 wise, I'm not sure. I'm still feeling November. I feel like we're gonna see something at E3. I could be wrong. I'm not an insider. I don't know knowledge. I don't have the
I thought your uncle worked at Nintendo. That's the only reason I had you on.
Oh no. That's common misconception.
Jesse lied to me then. Yeah. That bastard. He told me.
Miyamoto and we had a falling out. I had Miyamoto on speed dial, but after the incident, he won't talk to me anymore.
Wait a second. What incident are we talking about? Did you in his face? I'm sorry. Did that happen?
He found out that I have been keeping Jesse locked in my basement. That's what happened. He found out about it.
Yeah, he probably can't associate with that, to be honest.
Yeah. He's like
he's got a bit of a reputation. He's got a bit of a reputation to keep up. I don't know if I don't know if you can associate with that. Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's lovely. I love it.
Poor Jesse.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on, man. It was great. We'll have to do this again sometime soon. Not take so long to get you back on the show. Gosh knows we have a lot coming up. A lot of Zelda stuff probably the rest of this year, I assume, at some point. Because if we don't get Breath of the Wild this year, we'll get something Zelda. That's what it seems to be every year. Something. Don't know what, but something. Oh, I know you do. You want to go potty, don't you?
He's excited.
Are you excited that we're almost done? Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for coming on, man. You guys can check out CaptBurgenson. I will pop his thing in the chat here quick. I actually have it on a nice little chat command. You can also find his channel down in the description as well. If you listen to the audio version, I actually now in the description of all of our audio versions moving forward, starting with this episode, we'll have links not only to our podcast channel if you want to actually see the video version, because we do this live, and also we have a edited video version, which basically just makes sure all the audio is leveled out and things like my dog whining in the background maybe won't make it in. Stuff like that to make it a more pleasurable, because I get the audio version of the podcast ripped out of the corrected video version, so I try to make that perfect. And then I think that's really it. We'll have a link to CaptBurgenson's channel as well, so you can go check out his content. Do you have any upcoming content that you're like working on behind the scenes?
Oh, I do. I've got a video that's dropping this Friday actually, and it's a doozy. It's because I have this series, for those who don't know, where I've been.
Here we go. I'm about to get hyped.
And breaking down
if this is what I think it is.
It might be. I've been breaking down every dungeon in Zelda.
Yes.
So
I've seen every video.
Dungeon design. Oh, have you?
Yes.
That makes me so happy.
Yes, I love
the newest
those
one
videos.
drops. It's nearly 45 minutes long, so it is a doozy. It's a long video. That's why it took me so long to get it out. So, but it's coming this Friday. So I hope if you guys like Twilight Princess, City in the Sky, double claw shots are a good item. I'm
hyped.
Maybe go check that out.
The most hyped thing of the week for me right now is that video. Oh my god, dude! You guys need to go check out his Zelda Dungeon series. It is phenomenal. Like,
thank you.
If you ever think of, how would I know anything? If you guys ever saw the one theory that we have on our channel, the Dragon Break theory, Daniel was the one who created that entire video, start to finish, voiced it, scripted it, researched it, edited it, and like that video did so well on our channel. That's the kind of quality he puts into this show. Is amazing. Just the visual presentation, the scripting, the research. When I say that Daniel's like the foremost Zelda expert out there, I kid you not.
I'm so flattered.
Kid you not. I used to consider myself up there, but I've let my knowledge slip over the years as I've aged. I don't play Breath of the Wild every week. I don't make a special Zelda dungeon related show anymore. I don't even have my old. Remember, I used to have an old Zelda podcast actually at one point. Not the Zelda Informer one, Zelda Inquiries.
That's right.
But I haven't done that in a while either. Maybe I need to bring it back. We'll see. Since something Zelda's dropping every year lately, I don't know why. It feels like I got a whole reason to bring back a Zelda show. But you guys are awesome. Go watch those videos. I kid you not. You guys will not regret, and Daniel will probably quickly become one of your favorite YouTubers. Might even take you away from my channel, and I am okay with that. So go check him out.
I would never. There's room for both of us in your life.
no, there's not. Not when you're dropping 45-minute videos. That's okay. That's all right. No, seriously, he makes amazing content, and his live streams are a lot of fun. You want to see a pro dropping it like it's hot with Breath of the Wild when he streams it? Oh, just go watch the mastery.
I eat those gold Lionels for breakfast.
Pretty much. He flosses his teeth with them. It's not even a challenge.
Oh yeah.
Not me. I still get wrecked. I can beat them now, but I still get wrecked pretty often. I'm not as quick on the sticks. So I'm blaming my age and hand-eye coordination when really I just don't play it enough.
It's all practice. Like I spent so many hours in that game. It's like
practicing, getting the patterns down. Yeah,
exactly. If I wasn't good by this point, it would be weirder. So.
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Daniel, for coming on. I have no idea who our guest is next week, guys, so I got nothing to announce at this point. I'm talking to a few people because obviously Eric won't be here. I know. We'll have to get some confetti guns when Eric does come back and just not let him know it's about to happen and then pop it in his face and have him yell at me.
You'll have to give him my thanks and my regards and just maybe a smooch on the forehead. Just tell him it's from me. And
okay, sure. I'll let him. I'll let him know. All right. Well, thank you for everyone for tuning in, and have a great rest of your evening or day or workout or whatever you're listening to this to.
Appreciate you.